fee. That was most illuminating in many areas and exciting, and I can certainly testify I wasn't beat out of Evercamp today, and there certainly is a great brain's trust of cerebral matter and people working on a whole multiplicity of different things. It's very encouraging and certainly worth making the point that PharmAust itself and Ethicam are working much more closely with respect to things like manufacture of additional NPL and tableting, and that's kind of a harmonious synergy that's good. So I think, Sam, we're going to move to
questions,
Q&A now, and quite a few have been received.
We have got some, and I'll go through those first, if you like. Roger, the first one here is probably the best place for you to answer, and you may have answered it in previous meetings. Can the company please update on when patents for vet maker, being Elanco, expire? What impact is it having on moving ahead with trials, while Elanco still have patents that have not expired?
I think firstly it's worth stating that we've kept the dialogue open with Elanco as we move forward. They know we're working on NPL and canine cancer and human applications as well, and they have not sort of sat up and said you're infringing our patent by working with they own the product, they own NPL as a drug. But the patent for that is expiring in Europe in 2024 and in 2025 for the United States. So if, for the sake of argument, we could launch a canine product next year, there would only be a few months of royalty to be paid to Elanco, and I'm sure we would work out some sort of deal with them. So I don't think there's any hesitation. We do have dialogue with them, we tell them what we're doing, and they're generally happy with that. And as time ticks by, that IP position that they hold at the moment slowly disappears. Yeah.
Sorry, thank you, Roger.
I think that it may vary from territory to territory, but the two big territories have those two expiry dates from memory.
Okay. PA any closer to a joint venture partnership since Elanco pulled out of the canine deal?
I think that's an important question to answer for shareholders. Of course, we would have liked Elanco to exercise their option, but we were much earlier stage, and we had not really defined the commercial sweet spot, shall we say, for the canine product. And I think that's emerging now, and we're noticing that with other parties, other major corporations in the veterinary area, who are starting to see the commercial sweet spot. I mean, the key drivers are basically survival period, quality of life, price, and safety. And we score goals on all of those items. And you've got to look at it on the backdrop that 60 to 80% of dog owners basically put their dogs down rather than put them on chemotherapy or look for newfangled treatments. And that being said, there's a big market to play with, and what we're looking to do is essentially to offer the owner a safe product which the kids can still play ball with the dog without worrying about getting contaminated with chemotherapy. We don't have the $8,000 to $10,000 price tag, which of course many owners can't afford, and they may afford it if it was a cure, but it's not a cure. Chemotherapy is just a palliation, just takes them out an extra few months. So a lot of owners just feel the time has come. And we want to intervene at that point in time and say, well, look, for a much lower price, you can get an extra bit of mileage out of your dog and it'll still play. As you saw from the photographs of some of our long-lived dogs, they're still full of energy and run around. And really that's what we want to offer. Something that's safe, something that's not toxic to humans, and the kids can still play with it, and a good price tag and quality of life for the dog. You don't want your dog sitting by the fire vomiting all the time, which is what they do when they're on round 2 or 3 of chemotherapy. So I think that kind of answers it, Sam.
Yeah, thanks, Roger. Also around major farmers, the question here, the discussions with major pharmaceutical companies have been ongoing for a number of years now. I think probably Kim, you might be the best person to answer this, but obviously be mindful of confidentiality. Obviously, how often are you speaking with them, and how has the content of these discussions changed over the last year? Have they had input in the design of the current studies? Have they indicated that they are satisfied with the parameters of each, e.g. sample size? Are there any new majors that you have had meaningful and advanced discussions with in the past 12 months? So there's a few questions there.
Yeah, Sam, look, Roger, do you mind if I split this with you, if I give you a winger's pass for perhaps the discussions about the companies and the content? I think that would be better. And I can talk about the studies.
Let's drop the ball.
You've got a big prop coming at you.
Perhaps, Tim, if you could answer, I guess, have they had any input in the design of the current studies and
right.
The parameters, etc.?
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Sam. No, from a current phase 2, that design, was set some time ago. So there's been no change to that design. I think that's important because to change a design halfway through before we get to an end point, if you like, really creates challenges when you're trying to interpret the data. So I think when Richard and I and the board talked around, do we move aggressively, maybe quite quickly into a phase 3, but I think the idea is that we just need to build a little bit more of a foundation first. So that's really been the answer there. But from a collaboration perspective with the companies we've spoken to, which Roger can chat about, there's certainly a real appetite for having their involvement in the study design. I think that would be a really beneficial outcome certainly from their market experience, but study design from their clinicians. And so the design would target their commercial endpoints that would be of most value to that partner. Roger.
Yeah, look, I don't think there's a lot more to add. I think they wanted to see the outcome of the Bayesian analysis, the statistical analysis of the additional 9 dogs that we need. As long as we can show statistical significance at a high level, which we're, I think, confident that we're in with a good chance, I think that will be a trigger for the big companies to take on the product. And what does that mean exactly? Well, we have put proposals out there for structures where we're looking at upfront milestone and royalty payments, and what we're really looking for, and how our project will fit into the backdrop of what the company itself is doing. Some of them have, we mentioned Elanco earlier on. Elanco's interest was minimal, because they've just bought Bayer Animal Health, which was an $8 billion deal. It was hard to find room in their thinking for an early stage product. That's all changing now, and subject to the additional dogs that we're going to treat. I think we'll find a partner who can see the opportunity with Monopanto, and it's because it's such a safe product. They can put one of their dogs on the drug and see how well it does. Some of them it won't do that well with, and they can withdraw the dog and put it down. On the other hand, if you can get 191 days out of your dog, which you weren't expecting, that's worthwhile. And of course, the family always, dogs are very much part of the family now. It's a different story than what it used to be. I think that covers it.
Yeah,
Tim.
well, the question that we can't really answer in too much depth is wanting to know, who are the new vet majors that
Well,
we're talking to? Are
that's
there new vet majors? And other than Elanco, I guess is what people are alluding to. The short answer
We're well
is yes.
progressed.
The short answer
Well
is yes, but we can't really talk much more about that. And yes, Roger, what did you say there? They're advanced.
I'd say we're well progressed in that we're looking at different structures. It doesn't mean they're going to jump in, but certainly there's interest in exploring how Monopantal as a B-cell lymphoma drug could operate within their structure. And we have to move and deliver data and information to make it attractive to them for how it's going to fit into their basket of goodies that they're selling to the vets and to the vet oncologists. So,
People will be
yeah,
satisfied with that question.
we are bound by confidentiality.
Not
so
really. Looking at the poll. Roger, there's a couple of questions addressed to you regarding your residency in the UK. Will you be returning to Australia? When are you returning to Australia? What are you doing in the UK? That kind of thing. You can care to comment on that, please.
Yeah, yes, I can comment on that. I mean, it's my intention, of course, to come back to Australia. I've got a home in Melbourne, and I've had a busy year or so, I'm afraid, overseas for personal items, which I've tried very hard that they don't interrupt what I'm doing for PharmAust. But I've become a grandfather, which was an important event to me. One of my daughters got married, one of my nieces has got married. I've had surgery, my mother's estate needed tidying. It's been a busy time personally for me. I'm at that age where it all happens, I guess. So, but we're here. And fortunately, we've got Zoom, which is where everyone links up to the world. And I think we do all our board meetings and our bi-weekly meetings by Zoom, so it doesn't seem to have impeded us very much. My absence, my physical absence as opposed to spiritual.
Thank you. Faye, one for you, and you sort of did touch on this. People wanting a little bit more information about the Shell project, and you did mention we were expecting results next week.
Yes, so Shell project is wrapping up. It just needed a few analyses to be run through. Then they get given a written up report, and someone asked this question last week too, do we get to know what's in the report? And I think that was answered in the sense that we have to wait for them to tell us what they're willing to share. It's that level of confidentiality that we have to respect. That's what we are known for, by maintaining that for the various clients. So absolutely, if we have something to share, we will. It's been a really exciting partnership with them and with NERA, and that's what we will commit to do when that opportunity presents.
Thank you. There is a question about a couple of raisings. Robert, you already addressed that when we put resolution 3 to the floor. There are no planned credit raisings. I think that's probably all of the questions have either been dealt with in slides or in this discussion. So I'll open it up to the floor if anyone would like to ask a question.
Two questions. What state was the Shell project run?
Just for the benefit of listeners at home, Paul was asked what state the Shell project was conducted.
They got a source of what they call feedstock, Paul, from the northwest, mainly as a representative sample, and I think a little bit from the Northern Territory as well, and to be representative of a standard sort of feedstock that they wanted to investigate.
And the second question was, have you, so not to detract from the diversification work and push that's on there to engage with new customers and win new business, with the DNDI contract wrapping up next year, have you now looked forward to see there's some projections around the accounts cash flow into the balance of the financial year, what that might be.
Yeah, the short answer is yes. I have been looking at that extensively, and what sort of impact a big contract like DNDI would have. It's an absolutely imperative thing to do with the business. And at the same time, we were already looking to source new clients and new opportunities. So that was already underway, which is fortuitous because it means that it's almost like it's been some sort of insurance against the likelihood of that or any other contract finishing up. So I'm making those forecasts at this moment, in fact, to make sure that we can mitigate any impact to any great degree on the cash flow.
And there's a significant amount of work that PharmAust with our model housing
Oh,
project.
absolutely, absolutely. The amount of work that's going into that has really amplified, and it's been exciting to be able to work in there. And so that's where we're able to direct some of the activity and then the ultimate financial impact through those sorts of projects too. I mean, the bottom line, and everyone, I think I covered this in the slide, is the more we can diversify, the less you have, that high risk, and that's what is certainly one of our goals across all parts of the business.
Yeah.
Thanks for your question, Paul.
Carol and James, particularly assisting with that.
Oh wow, yeah,
project.
absolutely, yeah, absolutely. From the production
Carol-
side and the analytical side have really ramped up, and there's a huge amount of diversity in there, and then that very positive customer feedback begets more. The noise is out there, so it's very promising. Thanks for your question.
Any further?
I've got two questions. I'll ask you to answer the second one first if I can. The first one's MND. There's been no update on that, so where's all that at?
Sorry, is that MND?
Yeah. Okay, get as detailed as possible. The second one is I just want to confirm the numbers for the dogs, because I think there's been ambiguity around that in the past. I just want to confirm that my understanding of it is correct. So
I'm not sure, Kim, if you heard those questions. I think the second one is for you.
Yeah, okay.
Surrounding the number of dogs.
I'm happy to stand down there.
If you want to come up.
Yeah,
sir.
please, thanks.
So the second one's just to confirm my understanding of the number of the dogs. And I will obviously coming here, Kim's be able to, sorry, that's the microphone. Just to confirm the numbers of the dogs. I know there's 16, 9, 4 and 5, however they are. As I understand it, 4 and 5 are out. So we've got 16 that have completed, 9 that are partially completed. So I take it that means we have to, when we talk about the 21, that's 21 new dogs that we need to recruit. Is that correct? Kim?
You might be able
To get to the 46, it was the number? Or
Yes, yes, correct.
So we've got to recruit 21 new dogs. So
Yep.
when we say we need 9 from 21, it's really 9 from 30 because we've still got the 9 partially complete ones who haven't got results on. Is that right?
Yes, that's right. We would assume that the 9 partially completed, given the dose was 100 loading, 50 maintenance, so I'd be really surprised if they're not, if they can't be included, but at this stage, yeah, your maths are right.
Yeah,
Yep.
so it may well be less than 9 from 21 new ones because we've got hopefully a lot in the 9 that are only partially completed.
That is yet to be seen. But what I can share, given you've asked the question, is that out of those nine, given that we've done all the study assessments, this is my memory. I'm pretty sure though that all of those nine were PD. So there'll be none, again, if their bloods come through, there'll be none of those 9 that will actually top up that 9 number. So I would pick it would be 9 out of 25 that would be rhesus VCOG approved. So then we will be looking for another 9 out of 21 dogs for to meet the requirements of the Bayesian design.
So the obvious question that runs to that is, I'm sure everybody would want to know, do we have a time frame that it might take to get 21 dogs recruited and through the process and the results factored in?
Yeah, look, honestly, this is one of the biggest frustrations of. Yeah. Yeah, because look, we've gone to New Zealand extra site and they enrolled 5 really quickly, and so they've slowed. The US, we thought we'd get a quick enrolment. We've had 1 from there, so we're trying to manage that. But it's a really good question, and it's so difficult to predict enrolment rates at the moment. I would have really hoped, given that we've gone to 2 new sites, that we would have had more dogs enrolled now than we have.
Okay. I'll go back to my first question. MND?
Well, we have a webinar scheduled for next week.
So is it just being left to lead? I don't. If it's all going to be presented, I'm happy. It's just
wants to add, Roger, if you could.
Yeah, I think what I'd like to add on the M&D is that if it's a successful outcome, it'll be transformational for all of us shareholders, and I'm hoping it will be. What we have is basically 4 groups of humans, with each group having a cohort of 6 patients. And we've done 4 patients with Calvary in Victoria and 1 at Macquarie in New South Wales. So we're up to 5. We need 1 more now to complete the first group. And what we're looking for, of course, is safety. And in due course, we'll have some evidence, I hope, for efficacy and activity with the MPO. And assuming the safety committee rubber stamps it, which I expect it will, we'll go on to the next dose. So instead of getting 1 or 2 tablets a day, the next group will get 3 or 4 tablets a day, and so on. So there's 4 groups which step up in dose, daily dose, as we move forward. So hopefully by the end of the year we'll have the first group completed, wrapped up in the bloods and the samples sent off to the analysis labs across Australia, and take it from there. And we don't know when we might see an effect. We're looking at markers. So I mean, there's several outputs. There's the safety, of course, there's the markers, and then there's the physiological. So you give them a test. And do you remember how to do noughts and crosses, for example? And they got to do it. It's a disease that is degenerative, and it can affect you very quickly. And these patients will be treated in an ongoing manner if we see benefit. And the kind of benefit, we're taking cerebrospinal fluid, we're looking at the proteins in that which are believed to interfere with or induce the degeneration of the brain. So I think exciting times ahead. Let's wait and see how it pans out.
Roger.
At the moment, sorry, I was just going to add, at the moment there's one major product for it called Riluzole, and it's doing about $250 million a year, the current therapy for, that's US dollars per year for the current product. And we would be looking to see the market growing to over $1 billion by the end of this decade. So there's plenty of room
$1 billion drug, Roger.
Sorry?
Riluzole is indeed $1 billion drug already.
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Is it already?
Yes.
I just
I
wanted
beg your
to add,
pardon. I always like to hear that.
talking about
So there's several products out there, but Riluzole is the main one, and it's got side effects, serious side effects. It offers 3 months if you catch them early enough with Riluzole. A certain number of the patients will get an extra 3 months. So it's not a cure, and it's not a long-term treatment, mainly because of the side effects. You have to start treating them before they get too degenerative.
So there's
And,
five patients on the trial. Any have finished yet? The first patient may have completed the trial? And we
Yes, I think 2 have got the 28 days.
So we've completed the 28 days, and there's others being screened at the moment to complete the first cohort. Is there any other Does that answer your question, sir? Or?
Yeah, that's fine. Yep.
Okay, thank you, Robert.
I just wanted to add something. So obviously 18 out of 46 stable disease, if we get there, you've met the clinical objective of the endpoint, which we may or may not do.
Yep.
My point is, if you get to the 18 without needing to use the full 46, you still wouldn't recruit and do additional ones, you'd close it.
Yeah.
As a successful study, on what that means is
Yeah, you've got it on a
it's clinical
low
endpoint.
base.
The recruitment obviously has been disappointing. So in order to redouble our efforts, we've added additional sites. Kim spoke about in Texas, New Zealand. One of the issues is that you just actually don't want to recruit a doc that's too far gone. So, you know, people, it's kind of an illusory benefit, oh, you've got another one, but they have to be the right ones.
Yeah.
And often with lymphoma, you don't see it until it's stage 4, in which time the doctor will have other things. So that's part of the delicacy and subtlety of the.
I understand the constraints.
Yeah.
But,
So
you know,
we're frustrated.
the $1 million or maybe a couple of zeros extra question for everybody. It's going to be.
Yeah, but as Sam indicated, we are having a session next week on MND, including with Susan Mathers, the principal investigator.
Vaccine vitamin D.
Yeah, and for vitamin D.
So Roger, I've just got another question here regarding back to the MND trial. You mentioned that 2 patients in the trial. Has there been any feedback on the tolerability of the tablet? Is it sort of those times humans have been dosed with the NPL tablets?
I did ask the question at the last team meeting with the clinicians present, and there are no adverse events related to the drug at this stage. So all good.
Yeah, Sam, that's a question for Kim back on Bell trial. So Kim, you just mentioned there that the 9 dogs that you're still waiting on blood work for are in PD category. So is there anything, I know you can't be determinative about this, but is there anything that you would say has contributed to the different success rate in achieving stable disease in that cohort? Is that due to ongoing dose optimisation work or something else? Can you shed some light on that for us?
Yeah, I think I got all the question, and it's a good one. Thanks for that. Yeah, look, I will say that there's a point that Robert alluded to was about the selection of the case, right? So when PharmAust did the study design, their